and welcome to another episode of All Elite Arcade. Beautiful Monday to you. It is a great day to discuss video games, as always. It is the day here at A to B Games that we talk about our week of video games. And what a week of video games, because both myself and the Chugs have been playing a whole lot. How are you doing, Chugs?
Uno, I'm doing great. I do think, I was a little bit under the weather this past week, but in turn, I had the chance to play maybe the most video games this week since we've started this podcast, as far as stuff to talk about. So I've got a lot to talk about, and I know you've got a lot to talk about as well. So Uno, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump right into it as far as the games. So first and foremost, I always got to bring this up. Is once again, every single morning playing Pokemon trading card game Pocket. And you guessed it, there is 2 brand new packs so to collect even more cards, and this card collection, I believe, has 155 base cards to collect. So this is a big one. It's a really, really big one. And man, the cards are awesome. Once again, all these new systems with the battling and things like that with these new card sets, even more stuff to collect. I'm still trying to collect as much stuff as possible. I'm also being very good about collecting the promo cards now, because I made the mistake early on in my Pokemon trading card game Pocket career of missing out on the battling to collect those cards at all. So now I'm trying to make sure I collect those before they disappear forever. But yeah, that's been super fun once again every single morning. I do appreciate too, excuse me. That they seem to be really rewarding you at this point. There's like a special event going on where you get so many rewards, like the pack hourglass and the stuff for the wonder picks. You get a lot of those just by logging in every day and opening packs and wonder picking and stuff like that. So they've really been rewarding you with a lot of that stuff to be able to open even more stuff. So again, a lot of
trade currency as well.
Yes,
which they've been giving away.
Exactly, which we still have not done. I don't think you haven't done it yet either, right?
I've done it once as of yet, but not the first week. But I've accumulated so many points since then because I try to do all the missions that give me any form of currency. That's the only way to like open as many packs as humanly possible. But yes, we still have to do it next time we're at work.
Yes, we do. So yeah, once again, had to mention that for sure. Also, I did want to mention this before I get into my 5-game cycle on stream and my own personal game cycle off stream. There's a thing anytime I get the chance to do this when I'm home for a weekend, me and my brother, who I love dearly, he also loves video games. Anytime we get the chance to hang out, lots of times on a Sunday, we will get together and we will play a bunch of different games together. It's one of my favorite things in the world to do. Again, part of the reason I love video games so much is because of my brother. So it's always such an enjoyable time when I get to sit back and relax and play some games with him. So I got to play a ton of stuff, Uno. For example, we played, just getting ready for Mario Kart World, we were playing some Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, of course. He also really wanted me to try a game, and I thought of you right away, Uno. I didn't finish it, but it's a game called 12 Minutes. Have you played 12 Minutes before?
Yes, I have. So honestly, the beauty of that game is you can play it on almost everything, including your mobile platform. It's actually a remake of a previous version of this game, too.
Really?
Incredible. It's incredible. It's a very, very odd game if you're going to try to complete it, too.
Yes. So I definitely want to jump back into it, and I actually don't want to say anything specifically about the story, just in case for people who haven't played it, because I think it is something you should experience yourself, absolutely. But generally speaking, as far as the concept here, again, I'm not going to go into any details, but it absolutely feels like a puzzle game, and you're in a time loop of some sort, and just absolute chaos happens. So it was so cool. I only played it for maybe 30 to 45 minutes, but seeing the different outcomes that can happen just based on what feels like the smallest decisions was wild. So that's something I definitely want to return to. Very, very fun puzzle game, something I really enjoyed. We played a bunch of different retro stuff. One of those games being, we actually played a Baldur's Gate top-down game. I want to say, I'm going to mess it up, so I shouldn't even say this, but I want to say it's called Baldur's Gate Deadly Alliance or Dark Alliance or something like that.
Yep.
But Okay, but
I believe that's it.
Yeah, so it is almost like a Diablo-esque dungeon crawler type of game where you collect loot and fight enemies and stuff like that. I had never played that before. That was really fun. Very hard game, by the way. Very, very hard game. But me and my brother played that in co-op. I know for sure that there was more stuff that we played as well. I'm trying to remember everything, but it was super, super fun getting to play a bunch of different games with my brother. And then in regards to my Twitch streaming, very happy to announce I have beaten and completed Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin. So that is game number 8 that I've beaten this year, and the 69th game I've ever beaten on stream. So very, very pumped to finish that. Once again, very, very fun Dark Souls game, super fun. Also continuing games like Ender Magnolia, which I've talked about at length, Silent Hill 3, once again, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Also continuing some more Final Fantasy 6, which again, I am totally understanding and seeing why so many people adore this game so much. To be able to play a Final Fantasy game for the first time on stream has been a joy. Just an absolutely awesome game. But then also, Uno, I got the chance, now that I beat Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin, I got the chance to start a brand new game, and that is Stellar Blade. I played a little bit of the demo of Stellar Blade, and it was awesome, really, really cool. But again, just based on my backlog and how many games are releasing, I've been meaning to play Stellar Blade for a really, really long time. And all I'm going to say is, my God, I'm glad I started playing it. It is a beautiful, beautiful game. Again, graphically, incredibly impressive. The music I had heard was excellent. It really is. But most importantly, in a game like this, the combat is so satisfying. The perfect dodges feel great. The perfect parries feel really great. I'm already learning so many new moves, so I can tell that the combat is going to be very intricate and very, very fun to play. There's definitely certain styles or skills you can focus on as opposed to other ones, so I'm curious to see people's different play styles. But man, super, super fun game. The exploration is great. The level design has been wonderful in the way that everything kind of intertwines, like unlocking shortcuts or going down this unknown path to then wrap around back to the main area of where you want to go. It's very much rewarded you for exploration, which I love, because once again, I do have a tendency to play pretty slow and want to like search every corner of a map or every corner of a level. So again, still very early. I only put about 3.5 hours into Stellar Blade, but so far so good. The bosses are super fun. Can't wait to continue that game. I know that's been out for a while, but yeah, Stellar Blade is awesome. And speaking of like action RPG style games, I did put a little bit more time into the first Berserker Kazan, which again is awesome. I'm still very, very early into that game. I'm still in the opening snow level there. But again, the combat in that game is very, very tricky and very, very hard. I think I have to get used to focusing way more on the parrying system as opposed to dodging. I'm having some trouble dodging some of these enemies, but when you go through a fight and you're parrying perfectly, man, it feels good. So again, I totally understand why everyone is praising First Berserker Kazan so much. Such an awesome, awesome game. But there are 2 more games, I believe. I'm trying to remember everything, but there are two more games I really, really wanted to talk about that aren't necessarily a part of my personal 5-game cycle, but games that I really wanted to play and really wanted to try for sure. And they're 2 excellent games. First of all, I want to start with a game called Towerborne, which was recently released on Xbox. It's super, super cool. It's like this side-scrolling beat-em-up, but like you collect loot style game that I was interested in. I played this a little bit a while back, when it was in like a preview state, and now that it's released on Xbox, man, super, super fun. And they actually added quite a bit of updates to this, whether it's different gear or different levels and stuff like that. But again, there are like 4 different classes that you can choose, and then you'll go through this level like a roguelike, and you fight these enemies, and then you collect different pieces of gear, whether it's new weapons or new armor and things like that, or gold to be able to get other stuff. But again, there's 4 different classes that you can choose, all completely different play styles, which is really, really fun. I'm still fairly early into the game. I only got to play the first few levels now that it's been properly released on Xbox. But again, super fun. There were a lot of people in there playing as well that you could see on the world map. So just, I think it's something that like me and you would really enjoy, or me and my brother would really enjoy. Just a really fun side-scrolling beat 'em up where you collect loot and things like that. So I'm excited to play that a little bit more, to get some more detail with you on what exactly this game entails. But so far, I'm having a blast with it. Towerborne is a lot of fun on Xbox, and it's available on Game Pass now as well. So really enjoying that. And speaking of games that are available on Game Pass, my goodness, Uno, I had the chance to play.
I know exactly what we're going to talk about.
I had the chance to play a couple of hours, finally, of Expedition 33, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And wow, Again, I know a lot of people have talked about this already being game of the year, this being an absolutely incredible game. So I got to play the prologue and then a little bit of chapter 1. That's how early I am in this game.
Yes.
And it has grabbed me immediately. The first 20 to 30 minutes of this game is like a movie. It is just so beautifully done. The voice acting is great. The facial animations are great. The music in Expedition 33 is so perfect. It's so good.
Oh, yes.
And God, just the way this is shot and the way that it's presented is so beautiful and so cool. Again, the story is so interesting and captivates you and grabs you right away. But then even more so is the combat. Again, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a turn-based RPG style game, but it adds so much to it by making sure you time correctly for dodges, or time correctly for parries, or time correctly for your special attacks that you do. There is absolutely so much to this game, whether it's elemental damage or deciding if you want to use a skill as opposed to a normal attack to then build up for something. At least for me, it's called an overcharge, which is a super powerful move. So the combat is incredibly interesting and incredibly captivating immediately. Expedition 33 is a game that I am absolutely going to continue playing. I totally get why everyone's raving about this game. I was thinking about it this morning, the second I woke up. Man, it is awesome. It is awesome. So good.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. So
nice.
I know last week it came out on both Game Pass and to the public as well. And it's been all in all, and usually when a game is highly rated, it typically it's for some people, but not for everyone. Yeah. And this game, on the other hand, seems to be doing bonker numbers everywhere. I think it is the highest rated game, aggregated highest number for any game in 2025 as of yet. Right now, from people who have explored the game much further, they are claiming already that it's their game of the year. Obviously, there's a lot to be seen for the rest of the year, but at this moment, it is doing incredible. And this is coming on a year that already has Oblivion, already has Yakuza, Blueprints, and a bunch of other stuff that came out earlier this year. So I am in the same boat as you. Last week, I was so excited to play it, and right after our podcast, I finally had it downloaded. I played originally the first hour that you were talking about through Xbox Game Pass Cloud, which I think is very impressive that it was capable of doing that. And even on a hotel, I was able to do most of the cinematic stuff with no hitches. It's once you got to the combat, and the combat is so precise on its dodge and parry, it was quasi impossible to do with input lag. So I ended up putting, so you're about 2 hours in. I'm about, let's say, 7-ish hours in. And that first hours is a complete tearjerker. It's a incredible world building setup. There is like some. First of all, there's magic in this. It's a turn-based RPG. The way they kind of lay out the story, they just hit you on the head with it right away. There is a bunch of like setting up what the world is, but you're thrown into it fairly quickly. Major event in the first 45 minutes of this game. So major, in fact, that if you don't know what this game is about, it may catch you off guard a little bit. And then from the 7 hours I've played, there is a bunch of super interested writing in this. The dialogue, the way it's written, it really feels like people who are talking together rather than like a stilted interaction where like people read their lines separately. Sometimes they like bleed into each other. So instead of, one after the other, like most dialogue is done, they'll be talking and sometimes they'll get interrupted by someone because they're angry and they want to talk over them, or they get excited, or something happens off screen that gets their attention. So there's a lot of cool like dialogue based stuff and a lot of audio cue based stuff that I think is really neat in this game. And then we already talked about the combat a little bit, but I think this is solved. Not that this is brand new. This is we've done timing-based stuff on role-playing games before, on turn-based role-playing games. But in this one, what's very neat is that the whole package is almost presented like a Dark Souls game. When you get to a map, you have a critical path, but then you have all these branching paths that if you were to explore, you'll get all this extra content, and then that will reveal openings to previous paths and shortcuts to other regions. And it's been, in that sense, it's very unique. And then the way you see the enemies, you can either run away from them, you can try to initiate them. If they get their attack on you beforehand, they get the first turn. If you get your attack on them beforehand, you get a first strike and get a surprise attack on them. So all that stuff, the way it's attached together, plus the very, very precise parry system,
yes,
which is incredible because it really solves the issue I have with RPGs, which is when you get to the grind, the combats just become a lot of pressing X and kind of mindless. In this game, while you could change your difficulty and you could make it explore mostly, and you could probably do this if you want to see the story, I'm playing it at its regular difficulty, and its regular difficulty is quite challenging.
Yes.
You'll hit some fights, and it will also not be scared of you going to regions you're not capable of fighting yet. And so if you are very good at the dodging and parry system, you could theoretically beat some very, very hard bosses quite early in this game if you have, in you to dodge constantly at perfect times. You wouldn't take damage, and you would theoretically be capable of fighting these enemies. But they throw you like these challenges fairly quickly to just test you and make you realize that like these enemies will do 5-hit combos. These enemies, if you let them hit you more than once, will ruin your life. Yeah. And so the parry is very important. The dodge is very important. The parry window is much shorter than the dodge, so you're more likely to use dodge. But then the dodge, because the window is so long, it means that you have to quickly dodge between these quick hits. So sometimes parry is better when you have a blatant hit. Later on, they also add the ability to jump over things and counter mid-air. And then on top of what you were saying too, every attack has its own pattern too, where you need to try and hit it at a perfect point. And if you hit it at a perfect point, you get more out of your attacks. It's not even a unique principle. It's been in so many games, and it's even been in these role-playing games before. But the way they packaged it in this, it just feels incredible. It makes every fight feel like it matters rather than what it used to be for me in these JRPG style games, where it just felt like a time sink till I eventually have to get that one big challenge at the end. These all feel like one enemy could ruin you. Yep. Honestly, if you don't dodge and you don't parry and you don't take advantage of their weaknesses, the one fight could be enough to kill your entire party. And as this has progressed too, there's a lot of really interesting story beats that I've hit that obviously we can't discuss quite yet. But I'd be very, very surprised what a late game of this game is, because as I've branched out, now there's an overworld. I'm capable of walking in an overworld, so it's kind of like a Final Fantasy VII walk onto a map business. Or like on the overarching view of a map. Yeah. And so I'm very curious, because now I've seen the size of what the map might be. What's a late game in this look like? Because I'm completely hooked in by this game. Yeah. And I really want to know what the story beats are going to be later on, because I feel like there's going to be a bunch of twists and turns on a game that's already very, very weird and wacky. And so I'm very excited. And I know it's been critically acclaimed. On top of that, it sold over 1 million copies in 3 days while simultaneously being on Game Pass, which is a hell of a feat. Yeah. It's already beaten Metaphor last year's concurrent players. And that was like the big JRPG from 2024. So this will likely do very well at the end of this year. And I'm excited because I think we will probably be talking more about it in the coming weeks, because I hear it is quite lengthy as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And exactly what you said too. This has grabbed me immediately, aside from the story and how beautiful the game is. I'm so glad to hear that it's doing so well, and it totally makes sense at this point. Mm-hmm. And also too, like you had said, I know we had already talked about this, but like you had mentioned, man, the combat is not easy. Like it is definitely not one of those you just tap A, or you really have to focus, and it moves really, really fast. And I love that about the game, because when I first played, even my first tutorial battle, I was like, oh my God, I'm getting destroyed here. And then you get used to the timing of that. But then every battle, it's like the timing's just a little bit different depending on the enemy. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, with the weak points, and now being introduced to the elemental damage, how like ice will slow an enemy down, or fire will do damage over time. And then some enemies can absorb that element and it heals them. There's just, again, a lot of this classic RPG stuff, the turn-based RPG stuff that you love, but just done in such an interesting and intriguing way. This game has absolutely got its hooks into me.
Oh, and finally, I've talked so much at length about this game, but on top of that, I really, really enjoy the music they've formed for this. So
Yes.
the world building is built in this like futuristic France after a big, I wouldn't say apocalyptic event, more like a cosmic event, and it has a very like French flair to it. There's a bunch of horn, there's a bunch of like classical instruments to it, but it also like has a rock element to it as well. You'll occasionally reach regions in the game. I reached a town section where like there's a jazz club, so you can hear a bunch of jazz in there too. The music is incredible. I would highly suggest if you get the chance, go check out the soundtrack as well, because I've been listening to that off time as well. And it in comparison, it makes me think a lot about Near Automata, which it has like a French meld of like 4 different styles of music together, and on top of that it's got this very existential style story, and that was one of my favorite games I've played in the last decade. So if that could keep up to that level, I would be very, very happy for sure.
Absolutely.
And then so I spent most of my time playing that game, and of course, because I've talked about it the last 2 weeks, I spent a lot of time playing Blueprints.
Yes.
Right now, still my game of the year. We'll see by the end of my Expedition 33 run. But I keep grinding forward. Last week I told you I think I reached another layer and realized there might be several layers down. Well, I was right, because I've now reached 2 layers further, and I'm starting to realize that maybe this game can't be completed. Not by me, at least, because some of the stuff is so involved. And it's hard to explain to this, but I'll give you, and even if you're playing Blueprints, this will maybe get you some ideas. But the way that the world is built is that you enter this manor, you sort these rooms out, you get to room 46, and that's just that is finishing the game. That is getting a roll credits. You get to 46. You can do that within 20 hours. You can have an incredible experience on that alone. But then after that, what happens is that it reveals all kinds of stuff. And that's like when it's for the puzzle sickos like me, where not only do you have the mansion, and big spoilers here, but there is stuff outside of the mansion and layers below the mansion as well. And so as you start exploring that, you find more and more layers in that sense. But then not only in a physical aspect are you finding layers, you start realizing that every room you've ever been in and everything you've ever been in has secondary uses, has ways of melding with each other. Now I'm like 80 hours in. And within 80 hours, there was something hidden in like practically plain sight of me that I just realized now. I'm reaching these points where there are rooms I will enter that I've entered 100+ times now, that just now I'll be like, oh crap, now I get why that's there. Oh, I should have been aware of this whole time. So now I've reached the point where you reach room 46. You eventually, your next goal is what you think is getting 8 of a certain item. Then you realize there's a whole trophy room to fill up. I'm now halfway through that trophy room. From that trophy room, you then realize there's 8 more things you need to find to open 8 specific doors. And within those 8 doors, there's 8 very complex puzzles that you can only know by reading books within the game about the history of the world they've built, and then deciphering from that what their flag would be, what their main public transportation is, what like their landscape is, and then you would find a different book that tells you how to draw that in a sigil, and then that's how you resolve a sigil within those 8 doors. And then that's not even it. That's the crazy part. I thought, oh shoot, this is it. Once I do this thing, it's the end of it. It's not. There's a whole other layer. I'm now finding things that like, there's a computer in there that you could do lab experiments with. And the way the lab experiments work is like you put 2 statements together, and if you complete that statement in a run, so for example, every time you pick a red room, you get 1 key. If you do a red room, you get 1 key. Well, eventually you're able to find an alternate location to get data packages and change those rules to start changing things like, in this specific room, we'll start removing objects when you do this thing. And so then you realize, maybe this room is not a dead end. It is actually, in fact, there's stuff behind these boxes, for example. And so I'm so inspired by this game because it's incredible to know that a team has gone so deep onto video games that is only really going to satisfy like the 5% of us in the entire world who are too crazy to stop. But I think I'm going to be I might have to take a step back and start looking at walkthroughs because it's too much now. It's too much. Some of these puzzles you have to know the rules of chess. You need to know how to decipher numerical and alphabet ciphers. There's just stuff in this that like, you almost have to discuss with other people because there's no other way around it. You would have to be the smartest person in the world to try and achieve all 120 hours and get everything in this game without any outside help. And now I'm at that point where I think I've just accepted I'm smart enough to get to this point. The rest of it is smarter than I am, but I still want to see it. So I think I'm going to start searching into clues on how to do it because it's the only way around it. It is still, for me, my favorite game. I know a lot of people who have bounced out after Room 46, but I am so excited, not only because there is a DLC update that is coming to this eventually.
Oh, wow.
Which it'll be free content, and who knows what the hell is in that, because it could be late game, it could be mid game, it could be anything. The beauty of how it's structured, they can really evolve this game very quickly. But I'd be even more surprised. Like, I'm very curious about what the hell is this studio going to do after this, because they have put a lot of thought in their world building, a lot of thought into their puzzle building, so much so that like we're talking about puzzles within puzzles to decipher puzzles to get you learn languages in this, literal languages. There are 2 languages to learn to read books. So it's crazy what this game is contained, and it's a fairly small team. I think only like 40 people have worked on this game. So yes, enough. Expedition 33 and Blueprints. If you're not playing either of these games, you really should, and they're both on Game Pass. Game Pass is I know we talk about it a lot, but Game Pass is a crazy deal.
It really is.
If you're like, hey, I would love to play Oblivion, Expedition 33, Blueprints, but I just don't have the funds. Well, guess what? They're all on Game Pass, so you could get it for peanuts compared to the main price. It is kind of baffling, and I just read an article about this, how Game Pass is not actually going up much as far as subscribers. Call of Duty brought a lot of people last year, but it kind of just stayed the course. I always thought that was going to be the future of gaming, but who knows? People are still into buying stuff.
Yeah, but you're right, though. I mean, the past few weeks for Xbox, as far as Game Pass goes and the games that they have, my goodness, what a week. What a past few weeks.
Point of their value.
Yeah,
the value of that thing is insane.
Yeah.
So anyways, all in all, great games that we've played this week. I really cannot complain. Game Pass is an incredible deal. Yeah. The video games we've had in the last 2 weeks are some of the best games we're probably going to be playing this year.
Yeah.
And there's still so much to talk about. Including, this was a big news week. Some good, a lot of bad.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're going to have to discuss all of that right after this. It is time to talk your news of the week. It is the first week of May. We're already here, and it's been quite an eventful week, be it good, be it bad. Yeah. And I think it's only right that we start with good things because the bad things are going to lead to some pretty big discussions. Yeah. So starting off, this one I know you're definitely excited for. Yeah. A state of play happened on April 30th, and that was a state of play all dedicated to Borderlands 4. We saw a ton of new gameplay content, including new weaponry, exploring the classes, exploring new movement-based stuff. What did you see in there that you really enjoyed from this game? Yeah,
so again, I thought this state of play for Borderlands 4 was awesome. I thought it was about a 20-minute presentation. I actually got to stream it, which was really nice. But again, in a lot of ways, and I will go into more detail here, but in a lot of ways, it's more Borderlands. And I mean that in the highest complimentary way. So again, they really did showcase a lot of the new enemies, a lot of the map designs. The first thing I want to talk about, and you mentioned this, is the movement. Again, movement in first-person games is so important to me, and all the different movement aspects they've added within Borderlands 4 seems awesome. One of the things I really appreciated the most was the ability to glide. It really seemed like you're going to be able to access more areas and explore more of the map as you go throughout this area. It seems like the maps themselves are just packed with content, like little secret areas over here, little secret enemy bases over here, and then obviously your main objective that you want to do. They also got the chance to show more of the classes, which is really cool. Once again, a lot of the classic classes have returned as well, but like, for example, I always love playing as a Siren, and the Siren character in Borderlands 4 looks awesome. Them showing off a bunch of the new abilities and stuff. But what has me really, really excited, Uno, well, actually, I want to mention this too, and I did appreciate that the devs mentioned this, is I guess in Borderlands 3, they felt like it was too easy to get legendaries. Like, so legendaries weren't as special within Borderlands 3. So in this one, they made it even more difficult to get legendaries, which may sound like that's something that you'd be upset about, but I'm actually very excited about it because I do love the specialness of getting a legendary, where if you're grinding over and over again to fight these enemies or to fight these bosses, hoping that you get this legendary drop, it feels so good when it's really, really hard to get. So I actually, I'm very thankful that Gearbox is doing that. They've also made it even easier as well. For example, in Borderlands 2, when you wanted to get a gun. For example, there was one boss that you had to fight in Borderlands 2 who had a really, really rare chance of dropping a legendary SMG. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to kill the boss, and then you'd have to search the area to look to see if the gun was there. And if it wasn't there, you had to reload a previous save to make him spawn again, because the boss will not respawn. So in Borderlands 4, they've made it even easier, where you can automatically just respawn the boss to try to grind and get the weapon again, which I think is really great because they know people in Borderlands love to grind, love to look for the legendary loot. So I think it's cool that they put that feature in there as well. But yeah, this game looks really, really fun. Once again, all the weapon classes are there: Maliwan, Jacobs, like all the classics, in addition to a few new weapon classes. But this has me really excited. So traditionally in Borderlands, if you had a Jacobs gun, it was a Jacobs gun with Jacobs parts. That was all you could do. In Borderlands 4, you can find different guns with different manufacturer parts. So you could find like a Jacobs gun with a Maliwan scope or a Maliwan clip where it does like elemental damage, but it has the high damage of Jacobs. So you can like mix and match all these different weapon manufacturers because they're all awesome in their own way. So just the possibilities and the combinations of like all these awesome guns, because that's what Borderlands is really all about. It's the cool gun setup. So the fact that there's even more possibilities now has me really, really excited. Man, honest to God, this to me is going to be a day one game. I love Borderlands. Borderlands 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. Really enjoyed Borderlands 3 and Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. But this one seems good. Again, Gearbox has come out and said that this is their biggest and best Borderlands yet. They really believe that. And let me tell you, from the looks of it, it seems like it's going to be awesome. So I cannot wait to play Borderlands 4. I'm glad that we're going to get it so soon. And I thought they did a great job of showcasing what this game is going to deliver. It looks sweet. It looks so sweet.
Yeah. They definitely believe in this game because they've showed a lot of it. You know, the fact that they put 20 minutes into a state of play, we've been seeing it for about a year already. And then on top of that, it was originally supposed to be released in late September, and they feel confident enough that they moved it up actually by 2 weeks, and it'll be out on September 12th now, with 2 whole weeks beforehand. Makes you wonder if there's something big coming out in September that we don't know about.
I thought the same thing.
Also, I think genuinely this one looks good. I feel like the third game really missed the mark, whereas Tiny Tina kind of felt more in tune with what the previous 2 games are at. So I'm hoping this will be a ton of fun to play, especially in the co-op mode, which I believe said they've improved, so it'll be a lot easier to jump in and out of co-op. And it will also have cross-play across all platforms, which will make it very easy to play with more people.
And split screen as well. So, which was also very nice.
So you can do it from home, which yes, because I believe the last one did not have it. So yeah, very excited for that. Even me, who's not like I played Borderlands 2 a bunch. But 3 and Tiny Tina I had dropped off at this point. I'm very excited for this one because if it plays and feels like 2, but more modern with more content and much easier for me to jump in and out of, it will probably be a day one for me as well.
Yeah. I can't wait. Me too. So yeah, just a bunch of new games coming out later this month, and now we know that we've got Ghost of Yote in October, and now we have Borderlands in September. Here's a little bit of bad news. Starting with GTA.
we've been waiting to hear about it. There were rumors that in April we were going to see a trailer. April passed by, nothing happened. There were rumors that, okay, we're going to see a trailer in May. Well, now we're in May, and they've come out and said, unfortunately, you will not be seeing it right away. We are delaying the game until 2026, May of 2026 to be exact. So we are still a little more than a year away from seeing GTA 6. I'm sure we'll see gameplay and stuff probably end of summer going into next year, maybe fall going into next year. Yeah. But at the moment, if you're a game for this year, well, you just might have Game of the Year in the lock because they just moved the biggest hitter to next year. Yeah. And I'm not mad, honestly, because I never expected it to come this year. It's such a huge game. There's no way the QA process is going to take 3 times as long as they expected. And I'd rather play a very, very good game than for them to just rush it out the door. So not mad at all that we will be playing that next year.
Me too. And again, don't get me wrong. It would have been awesome to get our hands on GTA 6 this year for sure. But looking at the games that have released this year, not including my backlog from previous years and all the games that are yet to be released this year as well. Again, if they want to take a little bit more time to make sure that this thing is pristine and absolutely ready to go, then that's just fine. Because again, we have plenty of stuff to play this year. But yeah, I again, if they want to take till May of next year, let them do that, because you can guarantee, man, I mean, this goes without saying, the game is going to be a monster when it comes out. Oh, yeah. It really is. So if they need a little bit more time,
game of all time ahead of time. Yeah. I mean, that seems like a very confident claim, but there's almost no way this doesn't make an insane amount of money.
Yeah, not a chance. Yep, absolutely, it will.
Some more bad news-ish. I mean, it depends where you stand on this thing, but Xbox has come out and said that they are now raising the prices of all Xboxes and Xbox games and Xbox accessories. So video games now uniformly, well, actually, Sony has not come out and said this yet, but Xbox has said that their video games will start being $80 this holiday. That's not entirely surprising. We know the Switch 2 had made the jump, and that is coming out in June. And so it was almost, an eventuality that the others would too. And plus, with the world it is now, the cost of everything, inflation going up, the tariffs and stuff, one way or another, someone was going to pay for it, and unfortunately, that extra $10 per game is going to go to the consumer. We'll actually have a topic about this in our questions later on to discuss it, but I'm not surprised by this at all.
I'm not either.
I think the fact that they're coming out this early and discussing it is probably for the best before they come in and announce, whatever future projects they've got. If their handheld is actually true and they want to announce a price, well, they got to come ahead and say, hey, Xbox is going up in price because of these reasons, which only further means that the next projects and so on will cost so much more. And so, not surprised, it is a bummer if you are trying to save money at this moment in time, and that's why I think Game Pass is so important to them. That is where you save a lot of your money for sure. Especially you can get basic. Even if you get the basic Game Pass for just Xbox without the PC Ultimate stuff, you get a lot of incredible first-party games. And when 2 years ago, when it felt like nothing was coming out, this year it feels like there's too much coming out. There is a big game every week. It is well worth your time to use. And I'm sure that will kind of be a bright side to the dark side of this rise in price for consoles. There is Game Pass at least as a solution to reduce cost.
Man, like you had said, I mean, to me, the second that Nintendo announced that their games were going to be $80, I just immediately was like, oh, okay, that's where we're going, which is what there's no way. And again, games are incredibly expensive to make. And obviously with inflation and stuff like that, of course, it's never good news to hear that prices go up, but it's something that I completely understand and figured. So I think Sony's probably going to follow suit pretty soon. But yeah, unfortunately, that's just kind of the way inflation has been. So.
And it's crazy. I mean, also, you're seeing more and more games that are outside of that $80 scope. Like Expedition 33 is a $50 game. Right. It's Blueprints is a $40 game, and they're getting right now the 2 leads as the game of the years for this year. So there is value at every point. First party might be a full 80, but if you are looking to save money, there's a ton of value on AAA and indie initiatives, and a ton of lower budget games as well.
Absolutely.
So not surprising. And Sony, like you said, will probably come out and say the same very soon. If they didn't, I think it's actually would be to their detriment, because I don't think anyone's going to buy more PlayStation games. I think they will stay uniform as it is now. So it's almost guaranteed they're going to go up in price by $10.
Yeah.
All right, and then here comes even more bad news, and this is a series of bad ones for sure. We talk about this almost every few weeks now, but there have been more layoffs in the world of video games in a time where video games are making a large amount of content across the YouTubes and Twitch and so on, and on top of that are generating so much revenue. It is still a very volatile place to work, because EA has come out and laid off over 300 people and canceled an entirely new Titanfall game, which is a double whammy. One, I don't want anyone to lose their job. No. It is not a great thing. According to this, they laid off. Last year they laid off 5% of their staff, 670 people, and now they're laying off another 300 jobs. And they had a brand new single player Titanfall game in the works that has just been completely canceled. So if you're a fan of that series, well, unfortunately that will not see the light of day. And then on top of that, there are now over 300 people of all kinds of professions looking for work in a, unfortunately, always booming, but also always very volatile sector, the video game world. So Respawn, who was most of whom took these job cuts from EA as well as other places, have said that they are targeting team adjustments, specifically impacting their Apex Legends and Star Wars Jedi teams, because I believe both of those games now are starting to sunset. They're going to go into other projects and new stuff. So they've, whatever team that were there to constantly drop new content every year has been shaved down to a much smaller team. And it's unfortunate. I would love to find a positive spin on this, but it's never good when you find out that any major developer and publisher of video games is dropping so much staff. It is not a good sign for sure. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, this is never good news. And like you said, Uno, it feels like we're talking about this way too often. And I know we had mentioned this before, but again, like in 2025 or the past few years, as a gamer, I feel like it's never been better. Like to be into video games with all these amazing new releases and amazing remakes and remasters, and the ability to play like a bunch of the old retro stuff that you want to, with all the different systems that are implemented for us to enjoy what we love so much, and that is video games. But God, to work in the video game industry seems so scary at this point, and it just makes me so sad. So it's such a bummer that this has gone on. And just, I don't know. I hope each and every one of these people are able to get back on their feet and find some work, because I'm sure a ton of them are incredibly talented, who are so passionate about working on the games that we love. And I want them to still have that chance. So yeah, it just makes me sad. It really bums me out. Well, I'm not going to make this any better for you, because on top of developers of video games being fired, it would seem that two of the largest platforms for video game content have now also been stripped of staff. Polygon, who are known for hiring a lot of young writers and are kind of more of a young voice in the world of video game news and content, has been acquired, so sold to Valnet, which is their parent company. Essentially took the website and whatever it encompasses and sold it to another major company, another media library company. And they have gone and essentially fired most of the staff. And by now it could be all of the staff as well. We're not quite sure, with no immediate plan on what's going to happen to Polygon. So I don't know if they are going to remake that website, if it's going to just be an AI driven website, because rumors is that's what's going to happen. It's a very, very odd world if you are a content creator or a writer for the video game journalists, or if you're a video game journalist. It's just there's not a lot of work left in there. It's practically a sea of independent people now. And on top of that, so on top of Polygon not potentially not surviving this whole thing. Giant Bomb has now also laid off a big portion of their staff, and I believe a part of their staff has also left in protest. Giant Bomb has gone through like a ton of acquisitions in the last decade, so they've gone through multiple different parent companies, and we've seen that the parent company has cut down on their workforce and also tried to change what the website is. Giant Bomb being a lot more of a content-focused website over, reviews and walkthroughs. Well, it would seem that the parent company thought that they should be doing something else, and it's just led to the entire team essentially being decimated. So not a great world if you're a video game journalist or you're making video game content. And I know quite a few people who are in this world. A lot of them tell me that, like, hey, when I started going in this, it seemed like a dream, but nowadays it just seems it's not a viable place to do it. If you want to do this, you're better off just doing it independently. And this is just further proof of that, because a lot of very good people just lost their jobs. A lot of great writers now looking for a new avenue for their video game discussions, but also, for their livelihoods as well.
Right. And yeah, hopefully, like you said, as far as starting stuff independently, hopefully a lot of these people find success there, because again, so many of these people are such talented journalists and are so passionate about video games. Again, this is just another massive bummer, but it'll be interesting to see going forward how many people kind of go the independent route now with this. And again, hopefully people find success there, because that would be awesome.
We're in a world now that, like, if you like a creator, you can now pretty much support them directly.
Yes. Yep.
And so a lot of these creators, I cannot list off everyone's Patreons and sources of revenue, but Jeff Grubb from Giant Bomb has Game Mess, and there's a lot of other people that also have their own little Patreons that are unique to them. If we're talking Giant Bomb, Jeff Gersman, when he left Giant Bomb 6 years ago, started his own Patreon, and now that's his sole income as well. So I think there are avenues for this for a lot of people. So if you are a fan of a specific writer or a specific person in the world of gaming journalism, now is your chance. It is more than ever. They're probably going to need help. And so if you want to support them directly, there's probably an avenue for that. And if they have not announced it, they will probably be announcing what they're doing very, very soon, because it's a market where you have to jump in real quick, or else you're on to the next person and on to the next person.
Right.
So very unfortunate for the the world of video games. It is not improving when it comes to jobs, but it somehow is improving when it comes to the video games we're playing, which is the baffling thing for me.
Right.
You would think that with the revenue being generated and with the amount of content being produced, there would be ample amount of work, but that does not seem to be the case.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a real bad note to end this on, but there is some good news around the corner. Our favorite segment of the entire show is coming up right after this break. We'll see you right after this. Hello, and we're back for our favorite segment of the show. That's right, it's the Community Mailbag, our favorite segment, the Arcade Mailbag, brought to you by Upper Deck. Our friends at Upper Deck have sponsored this segment and this episode. Collect your favorite wrestlers in 2024 and 2025's Upper Deck AEW and start your trading card collection today. Unwrap autographs, memorabilia, or premium tech inserts. We actually have one of the new packs 2025 open right now. Chugs, who do we got?
Yes, we do. And here we go. Starting things off strong.
Ooh, Excalibur.
There we go. Oh,
there's Kyle O'Reilly.
There's Kyle O'Reilly.
Paragon partner.
There we go.
This is Harley and Soraya.
Nice.
Or Soraya.
Oh, I got both of my buddies.
Yes, if you pull yourself too, you're good. Oh, Riho, where's she been?
That'd
Bring
be
her
the
back.
ultimate. Oh, look at that.
Ooh,
Nice.
a hollow foil too.
Nice.
We've got Tony Schiavone in a Joker card.
Yes.
Mercedes Monet.
Oh, Takeshita.
Ooh, Takeshita, beautiful card. You've got the Hounds of Hell. Oh no, that's the House of Black.
Yep.
Jeff Jarrett.
Oh yeah.
I believe we pulled that last time. Claudio Castagnoli with a big chain on his arm.
Looking angry. That's a good pack right there. That's a good pack right there.
Get that. Get the 2024 and 2025 AW packs, as well as the Allure pack from 2024, our favorite pack of all available at Upper Deck. You can also find all kinds of other sports memorabilia and other stuff, including there's a ton of stuff that's out there. Go to upperdeck.com to learn more. We've got 3 questions today on the community mailbag. As always, if you want your questions answered, go to tbs.com/arcade mailbag and send us your questions. Chugs, what do we got first?
Yes, we're going to start off here with Nick. Nick, thank you for sending in your question. And Nick says, hey, Chugs and Uno, do $80 games feel wild to you, or have you accepted it as the new normal now? Between deluxe editions, DLC, microtransactions, and subscriptions, it kind of feels like publishers have been easing us into this price point for a while. I've spent anywhere from $5 to $100 on DLC alone, so $80 upfront doesn't even feel that crazy anymore. On the other hand, do you think services like Game Pass messed with how we value games? $80 is basically 4 months of Game Pass and gets you access to hundreds of titles. Curious how you guys see it. Thanks, Nick. Thank you very much for the question. Uno, if you don't mind, I'll start on this one.
Yes, please.
So to answer your question immediately, as far as accepting $80 as the new norm, I have accepted it. Obviously, again, at any point when pricing goes up, it's never something that us as consumers look forward to. But again, just based on the amount of money and time that goes into making a lot of these projects, it doesn't surprise me that over time pricing has gone up. And it is something that in a lot of ways that I have accepted. And also as well, when we talk about something like Game Pass, to me, it just further shows how important and how great of a deal something like Game Pass is. I understand too, like I love to personally own my games. So I totally understand wanting to actually purchase a game, but as far as like figuring out how you want to spend your money and what you want to use it on, Game Pass is just such an incredible tool to be able to experiment and try with so many different things. So I don't think it's necessarily messed up the way that we value games, but I think it certainly is a great avenue to be able to experiment and play as many different games as you would like. But yeah, Nick, to answer your question, just based on how expensive games are now, how much time it takes, how big a lot of these teams are, $80 is something that I can wrap my head around. Of course, being cheaper is always better for the consumer, but I have accepted it for sure.
Me on my end, obviously, this is you have to take to account that I'll spend practically any dollar on a video game if I really, really want to. Am I happy to pay more money on it? No. But I have the income and I have the desire to play something, and so I'm going to end up doing it. We talked about the Switch 2 and how we were lucky enough to get them, but we also had discussed that if there was a chance that we wouldn't get them, we would be probably getting them on the secondary market and spending a lot of money. We're consumers of a different brand sometimes, and I know this is not for everyone. I also have to say that the $80 doesn't surprise me, because especially if you've been a PC user for the last 10 years and you've been using Steam and all that, you kind of understand the cycle of video games is it's expensive at start, and if you just wait, it's no longer expensive. Almost every game, with the exception of like first-party games, you can get within months. You could save probably $30 on those games. So it's really, do you put value in playing it early and playing it before other people? Because $80, yes, you can play that, but most of the $80 games 3 months later will be on sale somewhere, so there is a chance to buy them later. I'm not saying that $80 is a good thing, but it's just something I've become accustomed to. If I see something is too expensive for my likeness or for what my tastes are, I usually will wait. The other thing too is that now pricing on video games is all over the place. You mentioned DLC, so I could purchase an $80 game and it could last me 8 hours, and it's up to me if that value is enough. Whereas I've played a lot of games that I've never given $1 to, that I've played hundreds of hours to. Fortnite, for example, now I have given money to them, but like I have gotten more value out of something I didn't pay for before paying into it. And so the cost of like a game perceived on its value on a market is kind of hard for me to decipher at this point. And plus, there's a ton of other games that are $20 price points, $40 price point, $50 price points. So I think it's a case per case for me. I'm willing to pay $80 for most Sony first party and Nintendo first party, because I know they're of quality and I know I can't get those elsewhere. Am I willing to spend $80 on the new sports game every year? I don't know. I think that comes to are you adamant about playing the new version, and are you adamant about playing it in the first 3-4 months of release? So not surprised. I'm not for the price increase, but I am understanding of it. And unfortunately, I'm going to shell out that extra money when I do want it. But a great question, Nick. Thank you so much for letting us discuss that.
Great question, Nick. Thank you.
Next question is from Millie. Millie says, "Hi, Chugs and Uno. Do you guys have a favorite bargain bin game or even a cool find from a bargain bin? My favorite bargain bin game is probably Brutal Legend that I picked up for $3 from an EB game years back. As for a cool find, I found a sealed Metal Gear Solid 4 Collector's Edition at a local thrift shop for $25.
Wow.
Dang, that is sealed. Good on you.
Yeah,
Good on you.
sealed. That's incredible. That's incredible.
I know both of us, so you are definitely more of a collector, so you're probably going to have a different variation of this. But I used to work at a microplay, which is essentially EB Games or GameStop or whichever. It was a trading platform for video games. And I would always end up in the bargain bin, especially at my store because I used to have like rebates on it. So I know I played Shadow of the Damned. I played No More Heroes 2 out of a bargain bin. I've played, I think, Brutal Legend as well. Myself, I did get out of a bargain bin as well. I was not savvy to the game at all, but it was very, very cheap. And I think still to this day, if you were to go to any resale store, that would be a fairly cheap game as well. So I've played a bunch of games from the bargain bin. And even on a digital bargain bin, I would say, if I have 6,000 Steam games, 5,000 plus of those are off the bargain bin on Steam. It's physical bargain bin, but if a game goes down by 90% on Steam, there's a very good likelihood that I've purchased it, even though I may have never touched it.
Yeah, that's great question. Great question. So yeah, for me, the one that immediately comes to mind is, again, when I lived in Orlando, there was a store called Gamers Inc., which I've talked about a bunch. Such a cool store that has a bunch of old, like, retro video games there. And one of the coolest things by a mile was there was a guy who would bring in complete in-box Super Famicom games oftentimes to trade them for Super Nintendo games. So I think there was a point where I got Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3 Super Famicom complete in box for like less than $50. Which to me was just so wild as far as a collector's edition or something to collect as a collector. So that to me was one where I was like, oh my God, what a steal to get all three of these games complete in box, Super Famicom for less than $50. So that's the one that immediately comes to mind. I used to love to go into that store and look around and see all the different stuff that they added because it was like week to week it would change. There'd be like a bunch of new retro stuff every single week. So I loved that store, and I'll never forget that time I left that store with Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3 for less than $50. I was like, let's go. And the collector in me, because it was complete in box, I left very, very happy. Very, very happy.
Thanks for the question, Millie. Great question indeed.
Yes. And last but not least, Robbie. Thank you very much for the question. Robbie says, is there a game from earlier in your life that you revisited as an adult but still could not beat? Yes. That game for me is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the NES. I got to the overworld part where you can drive around the party wagon and couldn't get past there and eventually gave up. For renting games, the PS1 was a dream since you had your own memory card, right? I remember renting NES and SNES games every weekend, hoping no one would overwrite my save file. They usually did, so true. To go along with FF7 introducing Chugs to Final Fantasy, mine was Final Fantasy Mythic Quest on the SNES. Super easy top-down JRPG, but it's what gave me the bug, and I followed up with FF2 and 3. Last thing, you guys might already know, you guys might know it already, but check out WrestleQuest. Yes, I've heard great things. I'm playing it on PS5, top-down RPG, but it's all about 80s and 90s wrestling. Lots of licensed wrestlers featured, but the best are the parodies. The Triple H type character is a black man named The Brooder, chef's kiss on the parody. Kind of long. I'm 60 hours in, but I think I've done too much combat. Haha. Thanks for delivering a fun listen every week, guys. Robbie, thank you very much for the question.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So the one that comes to mind immediately, because I am currently trying to go through this actually as we speak. But again, the first video game I ever played, I've talked about it so many times, but is Road Rash. And I'm going through and finding all these old retro games that I played as a kid that I have not been able to beat. Road Rash is still that game. I am being so stubborn because as you have level 1 through 5, both in the actual levels, but also after you go through and play the 5 levels and get first through third in those races, you go to the next level, which is the same 5 levels, but the enemies are a little bit faster and a little bit more difficult. There are 5 levels of difficulty for the enemies. I am on level 4. Uno, I still cannot get first place, which again, I could get top 3, but I cannot get first place on like the 3rd race in level 4. The racing is so hard. There are so many cars that you have to dodge, so many police that are chasing you, so many areas where you can so easily fall off. The enemies are so fast, so aggressive. Road Rash is one of the hardest games to beat that I've ever played. So, Robbie, my answer for that is Road Rash on the Sega Genesis. I will beat it someday, though. I will beat it someday. Yeah.
It's on your wall. You have to.
It is. I have to. I have to beat it.
On my end, so I remember playing the TMNT arcade, or not the arcade game. The arcade game was actually quite easy to complete, but the self-titled game, the TMNT game on NES. And I remember after you do the water reserve with the electricity, that's one of the hardest parts. But just like the traversal in some of the maps had impossible jumps between one platform to the other. I watched a video much later in my life that the one part I kept getting stuck at is not even a jump. You just have to run across. And so for years and years, I've gone back to that game thinking I could complete it now that I knew that knowledge, and I can't. I still have not beaten TMNT on the NES. But the one game that I have gone back, and it's the similar situation, is Batman on the NES. So I'm a big Batman fan, and numerous times I'll be like, I'm going to play old Batman games to see what I've been missing out on. And Batman was one I actually played when I was a kid. I had never completed it as a kid, and for very good reason. It's a Ninja Gaiden style game where, it's a platformer sideways, but if you get hit, you get leapt back. And so when you get hit back, you end up falling in holes and so on. It becomes very difficult. It has incredible music, an art style for NES that I think is really, really nice with the color palettes for Batman. And I really enjoy the game, but I have never, ever completed it. And as an adult, it is humbling to go back and realize, wow, I cannot touch this at all. And then a couple other games, because I've done the Donkey Kong runs on my Twitch. Going back to play the original 3 Donkey Kong countries, hard, challenging, attainable. Yeah. Diddy Kong Racing 64, though, kind of an impossible game. It is unreal that I was able to complete it when I was a teen, and it's even more unreal that I think as an adult I had the patience to get through some of the bosses in this, because it, much like Road Rage, has to be very precise. Diddy Kong Racing is exactly the same. The boss battles, if you don't know the boosting tricks and you don't know the turning tricks, and you're not 100% on every single turn, you cannot beat them. Very, very hard, but one I did beat this year, and so therefore not on this list, but I did wanted to give it a little tip of the hat. Thank you so much, Robbie, for the question. An incredible question indeed.
Yeah, great question.
If y'all want your questions answered on a future All Elite Arcade, go to tbs.com/arcade mailbag. North American people can send out your questions to both of us. We will be answering one every, or 3 or 4, maybe even depending on the size of these questions, every single episode of All Elite Arcade. You can actually find our next All Elite Arcade episode on YouTube, youtube.com/awgames. They drop at noon Eastern Standard Time every single Monday, video format. If you want to watch our beautiful faces, as well as some of the clips from some of the video games we are playing, that is in a YouTube format, youtube.com/awgames. As well, if you didn't, hit that follow button or subscription button on your platform of choice for podcasting, because our episode drops every single Monday on the wee hours of the morning. I'll be on Twitch, twitch.tv/eviluno. I've actually taken a week and a bit off because I was traveling, but I will be back. I have the bongos. I have the GameCube. We will be playing Donkey Kong in the next few days, so do be on the lookout, twitch.tv/eviluno. What about you, Chugs?
I will also be on Twitch, twitch.tv/thechugs. Once again, going through that 5-game cycle, continuing through Ender Magnolia, Silent Hill 3, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. We're getting real close to beating the final DLC. Of course, continuing my first playthrough of Final Fantasy VI and my first playthrough of Stellar Blade as well. So a lot of variety there. If you're interested, twitch.tv/thechugs.
do check us out both on Twitch. We would greatly appreciate it, as well as hit that follow button so that you can listen to us next week on All Elite Arcade. I will see you in the YouTube comments, and we will see you next Monday for more All Elite Arcade. Bye-bye.